Hi, everyone. I'm just going to, we're just going to wait a minute and let the numbers increase and let a few more people join before we start off. You know, while we wait, we always love it when people, and we know that the registrants here come from all over the place. If you wanted to say hi in the chat and tell us where you're from, that would be great.
I see that. So the chat's disabled. It's open just for the Q&A. So we'll have to.
Oh, the chat's disabled. Oh.
But I know I was looking at the list this morning. We've got people joining from all over North America, many states. I think almost every province in Canada, many states. Oh, I see a Kelowna. Oh, the chat's on. Awesome. We have some other countries represented too. So now that the chat's on, that would be great to see.
Okay, looks like the chat is not available, but feel free to throw in your geographical location in the Q&A. Lots from Kelowna. All right, so you know what? Why don't I just kickstart it? Thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Susie Ho. I am the chair of the Women in Leadership Ottawa chapter. The Women in Leadership is a national nonprofit organization that is dedicated to empowering women while inspiring and developing the next generation of women leaders. One of the ways that we do this is to provide these professional resource sessions, just like today's webinar. We also strongly believe in the value and power of listening and learning to the stories of women leaders who have been trailblazing the way before us. And finally, our award-winning mentorship program. This program has seen incredible success over the years, and we will be launching it again next week. So everybody here today will be receiving info about it. And feel free to head on over to our website to learn more about it. Before I introduce you to our speaker today, I'd like to welcome and turn the floor over to Kim Randall, Associate Director of the Recruitment and Admissions for the Ivy Executive MBA program. She's going to tell you all about this amazing opportunity that's available not only for those of us who have registered today. Kim?
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me and giving me the opportunity to share a quick little note about the Executive MBA at the Ivy Business School. It's really an incredible program designed for mid to senior level leaders, and we are always thrilled to welcome incredible women to the program. And so knowing that women in leadership brings together such dynamic forces, I definitely was eager to connect with you today. If you're not familiar, our Executive MBA is a 15-month while you work program. You are not required to take a step away from work. We recognize your careers are incredibly important. We also know you're probably juggling a lot outside of work as well. And so our 15-month program really allows you to strike a balance between your academics, your career, and your personal life. It's predominantly taught in downtown Toronto, which is convenient for many. And for those of you who are joining this webinar from out of province, we welcome folks from all across the country and beyond, and offer generous travel and accommodation bursaries to help you offset the cost of getting to Toronto for the program once a month. We are focused on broadening your knowledge at a cross-enterprise level and really supporting you in accelerating your career. So ultimately, what we are looking for in terms of candidates to join the program are really ambitious folks with leadership experience and, of course, leadership potential, who have a bare minimum of 8 years professional experience. Though what you'll find looking at an average class is that folks typically have between about 15 years of professional experience. And of course, that strong work ethic. I think by virtue of simply being here today, you're investing in yourself and invested in your career. And so I already have a great hunch that you probably would be a good fit. You're going to be learning with incredible professionals from a wide variety of industries and sectors, and you'll be learning through a unique case-based approach. We're one of only 4 schools worldwide who teach through business cases, which means that you're constantly given the opportunity to apply your learnings, apply your decision-making, apply your drive for impact. And what I love is that it really creates a safe kind of fail-fast environment to make a few mistakes before you're actually implementing and applying your decision-making within your organization and your workplace. Now, in terms of making it possible, our program is offered, it starts twice a year, every February and September. And we're really eager to welcome women in leadership participants to the program. And in order to hopefully give you a bit of a nudge and encourage you to look into this a little bit further, we're really excited to be offering one $10,000 entrance award to somebody who's attending the session today. This will be available to somebody who joins the program in 2023. So that would either be February or September. And the kind of first step on this journey will be submitting a preliminary assessment. So I will drop a link in the chat or in the Q&A, and you'll be emailed it later. It's a quick form that you can upload your URL to LinkedIn or your resume. Let us know a little bit about you, and we can begin the conversation. I've also listed my contact details here and would love to stay in touch. And before just wrapping up and kind of really emphasizing that you were made for this opportunity, I want to share that not only is Susie an alumni of the program who's had great career progression post-degree and has great things to say about the experience, Melissa Marcelissen, who is about to speak to you and share some great coaching and leadership tools, is also a proud alum. So know you'll be in great company being part of the Ivy Network, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Kim. I just wanted to mention too that when I went through the program, the gender makeup was 22% women, whereas the latest cohort is now 42% women. So, you know, those numbers, I mean, the change that we're seeing and the impact that Kim is making is tangible, it's noticeable. And I hope that somebody here today leans into this opportunity and really makes the most of trying to pursue or level up in their career by taking the MBA journey. Okay, so without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our speaker today. Her name is Melissa Marcelissen, leadership coach and founder of Vision Leadership. As Kim mentioned, she's a graduate of the MBA program. She is an inclusive leadership coach, an international speaker, as well as an EDI strategist. This is only an introductory webinar, and we're going to make sure we can cover as much as we can. Melissa's going to take up the full hour and stick around afterwards for Q&A. So please feel free to type your questions into the Q&A box, and we'll get to them after the hour is up. Or you can always follow up with Melissa by email with any of your questions. Also a reminder, this webinar is being recorded. And with that, I'm going to flip it over to you, Melissa.
Thank you so much, Susie. I'm really excited to be here with you. And thank you for everybody who's joining us, taking time out of your busy day, no matter what time of day it is for you. I think Susie chatted about early, we've got people from all over North America, as well as some other countries across the world, even on top of Canada and the States. So whether this is your lunch or after hours, really, really glad to have you here. And thanks for spending some time with us. So without further ado, let's get into the program. Like Susie said, I'm going to talk for about 35-40 minutes, and very happy to stay on to answer some Q&A if you're able to stay on as well, but also happy to follow up after. If there are questions submitted in the Q&A box that we don't get to, I'll look to address all of them before the follow-up email goes out so that I can answer some of the common questions too. What we're really going to talk about today is understanding yourself and how that can help you really increase that impact and influence that you need to have, specifically as a middle-level leader or mid-level manager, but throughout your career, no matter where you are sitting right now. This is, again, a little bit about me. Susie introduced me very graciously, so I won't spend too much time here. I am a speaker, facilitator, and coach. I specialize in inclusive leadership development, and I'm also a Fascinate certified advisor. I like to start off with this quote from Maya Angelou. If you're always trying to be normal, you'll never know how amazing you can be. And kind of want to talk a little bit about what this quote is challenging us to do. It's really challenging us to be our full selves. It's challenging us to be brave enough to be different and to approach problems differently. Because if what your organization needs is more of what it's already got, then why does it need you? And if your employees need more of what they've already seen before, how are you going to challenge them and grow them if you're not going to actually step into your unique abilities and be more than just what someone's been before? Let's talk a little bit about what might hold you back from becoming your true self or bringing your true self to work, including your unique abilities and the value that only you can bring. I like to talk about three things when we think about that. One is being unknown to self. Two is the negativity effect. And three is a tornado vortex. So unknown to self. Maybe you haven't had time to be really self-reflective and think about what spots you're in when you're adding the most value, what makes you really unique and different. And really spending time getting to know ourselves is so, so helpful. And really the first step in valuing the diversity of those around us. Because if you can't value and express what you bring, that's a little bit different. It's really difficult for you to value the differences on your team and those around you. And then second's the negativity effect. I know I can't really see you right now, but I bet if I asked you all to tell me one thing that you're really terrible at, everybody's hand would go in the air. It happens every time. It's super easy to tell ourselves the things that we're not good at. They pop up on annual reviews. We're told them by teachers and by parents when we're young, like you should really get better at this and you should focus at getting better on this. This year, I want you to focus on. It's really, really easy to talk about the things that we're not so great at. There's also this silly thing that happens is when someone gives us negative feedback, we believe them very much so. When someone gives you positive feedback, you're probably like, oh, it wasn't a big deal, or my team did all the work, or anybody could do that. That's really, really natural and something we see a lot when we're looking at developing great leaders. So taking that step back of being so easy to accept negative feedback, but a little bit harder to accept positive feedback is something that can hold you back from bringing your highest value. And then third is the tornado vortex. I'm sure you all already know what this is. This is your very busy day with Slack or team messages popping up or people popping into your office for help and assistance. It's client calls, it's emails. If you're still maybe working from home and navigating having kids at home sometimes or school drop off and pick up, all of those things that are happening in your day make it really hard to take the time to know yourself, really understand where you're adding the highest value, and do anything other than what's right in front of you all the time. So these are the three things that can get in the way when we talk about showing up in our highest value. I love this quote from the Dalai Lama: "The world will be saved by the Western woman." Let's talk a little bit about where the power in that quote comes from, and that's the Athena doctrine. So this Athena doctrine showed us that 65% of people around the world believe that more female leadership in government would prompt a rise in trust and fairness and a decline in wars and scandal. This type of feminine leadership they described as not soft and squishy, but wise and strong. So if you see yourself in these female leadership traits, learning how to lean into them and make sure that they get a voice at the table and they're not overpowered by those that aren't. I think Susie mentioned when you're in a group of people that are all kind of one demographic or another, you're more likely to need to try and fit in or speak through their language. But when we're really brave and strong and can bring our true leadership style to work, that wise and quietly strong leadership is so powerful. So through this Athena doctrine, the words that they use to identify the different types of leadership, under masculine leadership qualities, they talked about decisiveness, analytical, resilient, independent, and aggressive. And what we feel like we're missing, or what this showed that we were missing in most corporate environments, in government, in other forms of leadership, were these more feminine leadership qualities of collaborative, forward-thinking, expressive, flexible, empathetic, and passionate. Now, I want to be really clear to say that these labels don't make sense, right? Attributes or leadership styles do not have a gender, but there is some commonality in the ways that we show up and the things that we quiet about ourselves. So often when we're quieting the parts of ourselves that are collaborative or forward-thinking, expressive, in lieu of getting that voice at the table because it's what everyone else is saying, or the only way we feel like we'll be heard is if we're decisive, independent, aggressive, proud. Like those parts of leadership at a leadership table can be really overwhelming, and they can stop the rest of your teammates from stepping up and showing their collaborative nature and some of the things more on the right-hand side of your screen. So what the challenge really is to make sure that we bring a balance. We don't not need these traditionally masculine leadership qualities. They're required, they're needed, but we also need to blend in these other type of qualities. Some call them soft skills, but I also say the soft stuff is the hard stuff. It's a lot harder to do these things sometimes than it is to just go, go, go. So how do you blend your leadership style? How do you make sure, if you show up primarily with one of these, to surround yourself with people that are going to challenge you and bring those other types of leadership qualities to the table too? I actually always say one of my favorite things is when leaders fight respectfully, or when someone changes my mind. So something to keep in mind when you're having conversations is to really allow in those other perspectives and make sure that you're staying open to them and not staying fixed-minded on where you're coming from. One more interesting thing on the difference between masculine and feminine leadership before we move off of this. Again, it's not that we need all of one or all of the other, because we can actually overweight on female leadership as well, right? When we start to pass a number of any traditionally marginalized group of 55 to 60%, then it flips and we're not getting enough of something else. So anytime you've got an imbalance where there's more than 55 or 60% of a certain demographic on a leadership table, you want to start thinking about what's your opportunity to bring on someone different and to balance out those scales a little bit. I love this quote from Michelle Obama, especially when we talk about if you are the one voice at the table, that's maybe different. If you identify in some way that you bring a difference to your leadership table, but there's only 1 or 2 of you out of 10, how do you start to speak up and be strong when you know that platform hasn't been built yet for your voice to be heard? Well, this quote from Michelle Obama challenges all of us as leaders to start bringing that before we're ready, because we cannot afford to wait for the world to be equal for us to start feeling seen. So what now? A game-changing move for you is going to be able to take more risk and really make your voice visible. If your natural tendency is maybe to hold back your opinions or thoughts in a roundtable discussion, or maybe wait to put your idea forward, how can you challenge yourself to take more risk, to be ready to use your voice when the time is right? A primary visibility barrier to doing this is that failure to allow yourself to fully receive and own your own true power. You can't do this without knowing yourself first. So really knowing where you add value is so key, and doing that reflective work to understand where it is that you can make a difference. Really not trying to be a jack of all trades. And that's where this mediocrity trap comes in. When you're trying to be everything to everyone, there's that saying, I'm probably going to mess up the quote, but when you're trying to be everything to everyone, you're very likely nothing to anyone, right? It's hard to really stand up for what's important for you and really stand out in the place in your career that you can and that you should when you're trying to be really good at everything. You're not supposed to be good at everything. You're supposed to do the work to understand what it is that you bring that's really unique and different, and then surround yourself with people that can close the gap. Surround yourself with people that you know do things that you don't love to do, so that you can pass those things around and you can get some feedback and input from your team members that will really challenge you to think different. That mediocrity trap, again, is trying to be that jack of all trades rather than the master of one. You do get to a certain point in your career by getting that breadth of experience, being able to jump in. I'm sure you've all heard the phrase, wear multiple hats, do all these different types of things. And it really is important up to a certain point in your career. When you reach middle management and you look upwards, it really is about focusing your expertise and knowing how you add value. And what's just as important is knowing the things you shouldn't be doing and being able to delegate and pass those off to people that are going to thrive on doing them. When you are able to work from your highest value and align yourself to the work that you're supposed to be doing, you'll actually have increased happiness, increased chance for success, and more satisfaction in what you're doing. I want you to take a moment and kind of think to yourself, check in with yourself. When you're at your best, how likely are you to show up? What type of work are you doing? Are you doing teamwork or independent work? What kind of organization are you working for? What kind of culture is there? What kind of leader do you have? What type of meeting style is your preference? All of those things. Think about all the ways you're most likely to show up at your best self. You can kind of run your own highlight reel and think about moments when you were really in the flow, performing at your best, maybe getting promoted or being recognized with special projects. What kind of work were you doing? Who was around you? What kind of things were you doing outside of work? Really think about when you were at your best versus when you were at not so your best. I'm going to use a little bit of a silly example, but it's also really powerful if you start thinking about your differences and then valuing those around you and setting them up for success. I think about my best when I'm called into a meeting. So under the context of a meeting, I'm best in a meeting when someone calls me and says, hey, can we bat around some ideas? Let's brainstorm. I need to work through this problem. No problem. I am on the phone or on that Zoom call, ready to give my ideas and input. And if we throw out 100 ideas and you hate 98 of them, I'm good. You like 2. I'm really, really happy. However, there are lots of personality types and communication styles where they need to feel well prepared, or else they're going to feel like they can't contribute. They may even show up to a meeting like that and look disengaged. They're not, they're listening, they're taking it in. They'll probably send you an email 2 hours later with a really, really well-rounded solution. Neither of those styles is bad. It's about knowing who you are and being able to communicate what you need. Of course, within organizations, we've got to be flexible. We've got to be able to jump into situations that aren't at our best, but we do also have times where we can be really purposeful and think about, how can I set myself and my team up for success? And this is just one way to do it. Think about what you're going to get out of certain team members if you give them an agenda 48 hours ahead of time and some pre-reading material versus what you're going to get out of different members when you just go into a brainstorming session cold. When you think about at your not so best and at best moments, then you can start to make decisions. What projects do you take on? What roles do you apply for? How do you build your team? Because you want to put yourself in a position where you're most likely to be at your best more often. It's going to give you energy. You're going to feel energized. You're going to be excited to go to work. You're going to perform better when you're doing things that don't drain you of energy. I want to talk a little bit more about that under the context of this wellspring and quicksand. Some signs that you're in your wellspring: you feel focused, in the flow, invigorated. You're fueled with a sense of vitality and happiness. You're having fun and that task feels effortless. You're productive and energized with the challenge. You feel empowered and motivated. And alternatively, some signs that you're in quicksand: you're bored, drained, distracted, or even loathing that activity or task. It feels like you're swimming upstream or going against your natural grain. This is the thing that you put off going to work for, whereas your wellspring is when you jump out of bed Monday morning because you know it's first in your agenda. For me, I like to tell this story about when I first went out on my own to start my own consulting business. I spoke with a leader who I've known for quite a few years. I very much admire, is accomplished. Any advice she's ever given, I've wanted to take. And she told me every good entrepreneur I know does all of their mid on Monday so that they can be level set, their calendar's organized, they're caught up, and they feel really good about tackling their week. So I was like, great, you are one of the smartest people I know. I'm going to do what you said. What happened? I didn't work Mondays for the first 2 months that I was self-employed. I didn't have a meeting calling me in. I didn't have a deadline calling me. And that admin work was work I do not love doing. So instead, I've flipped it so that every single day I start my day with, we call them jumpstart coffee chats. So I have a group of leaders and aspiring leaders that come together, and whoever can jump on that morning, we do 15 minutes of in the moment coaching, just checking in. How's your week going? What do you want to accomplish? And that leaves me feeling like I've added some value. I get to do the thing I love, which is connect with people and help people right to start my day. So I never don't want to go to the office in the morning. And once I'm there, I'm probably going to do the rest of my day's work. So start to think about, how is your day set up? If you are a person that needs to feel really level set and have your feet under you in the morning, go through those emails that came in overnight, take a look at your calendar and make sure that you're settled in your day. Move anything that needs to be moved. Are you scheduling meetings voluntarily between 8:30 and 9:30? Well, if you know that's going to put you behind the 8 ball, feeling overwhelmed, and you didn't get that level set in the morning, do you have control of your day that you can change that? right? Or do you know if there's people on your team that really are those passion personalities that need that connection to start their day? Can you buddy them up so they start the day with a 15-minute coffee chat or jumpstart to their day, and they can share, hey, this is what I'm going to accomplish today. This is what I'm going to accomplish today. Let's go do the things that we love to do, right? Like where you have control and knowing that not everybody's going to be the same. Again, when you're working within your organizations, I know those meetings aren't always up to you on when they are, but where you do have control, I'm going to challenge you, take control of your day. Do the thing that you love doing first thing Monday morning, whenever you can, and then find time to do the rest when it's not going to get in the way. So for me, what that looks like is those admin tasks are scheduled for an hour before I know I'm going to have some time to get outside and re-energize, or an hour before I have a massage scheduled that afternoon, because I'm going to do that hour work, then go do something that's going to re-energize me and bring me back to doing what I want to do. So let's talk about what do we do with those things that we don't love to do or are super heavy for us. You've got a couple of options, and they're delete, delegate, and discipline. So I want to talk first about delegate. Very often we have something in our mind that says, if this is a task I don't want to do and I'm delegating it, it means I'm delegating the yucky stuff, right? Who would want to do that thing that I hate to do? And they're going to look at me like I'm the worst for giving it to them. But as you start to get to know your people, whether it be upwards, downwards, or coworkers, as you start to get to know the people around you, you will really, truly understand what brings them joy, what excites them. There are actually people that get excited about Excel documents and checking tasks off lists. I'm sure that's some of you too, but it's not me. So you have an opportunity to set your team up for success when you really understand how they want to add value, where they add their best value. Not only will they get through it quicker, they'll be excited to do it, and it'll give you a chance to tell everybody how amazing your team member is. And then delete. I think we all learned in 2020, we were doing things we did not need to be doing. So can you take that step back from your agenda? Can you take that step back from your email and go, what am I doing that I don't need to be doing? And then get rid of those. And then finally, discipline. Some stuff you just got to get done, right? I can't let the fact that organization is not my strength or my joy mean that I don't show up to meetings on time, right? I can't let clients down. I can't let the leaders that I work with down by not showing up. So I do need to be disciplined, even about managing my calendar, which is not my favorite thing. So sometimes we just got to do the thing, but finding ways to put those in your calendar where they're not going to throw off your day or your week is really, really key. I love this quote from Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? If there is a way that you are unique and different and add value that you are not showing, what are you keeping from your team? What are you keeping from your organization? What are you keeping from yourself? And why would you do that, right? You want to put yourself out there. Sometimes it can be scary because we also think, I know I have some potential. I probably have the potential to do this challenge, take on this role, apply for that job. The problem is when you do, it either happens or it doesn't, right? Sometimes it's easier to sit in our potential, but then what are you holding back? What are you holding back from yourself and from others? I love this question. What would you do if you weren't afraid? This question was asked to me just over 5 years ago, just about 5 years ago now, actually. In January, it'll be 5 years. What would you do if you weren't afraid? And I was signing up to take a course, and it was on the intake survey. I literally wrote, I am too afraid to write it down. That's how afraid I was of the first thing that came into my head. But I did call up the facilitator of the program on week 4 or 5, and I said, I did the thing I was too afraid to write down. And she said, write down what's next. For me, actually, that was the thing that was next was applying to the MBA. I didn't have a formal secondary education. So for me, it was going to fill that gap, going to do something I felt like I'd always kind of missed out on and hadn't done. And so it was applied to the MBA. Once I got into that, you guessed it, my coach said, what's next? I felt like I'd done a couple of heavy things, so I needed to do something easy. And I decided I would train for the 10K at the Las Vegas Marathon. So I did that with my friends. It was super fun. And then it was, what will you do next? What I did next was actually come out and start to live my life as my true self. What was after that? I needed something easy again. So I signed up to do the Ride to Conquer Cancer and rode my bike from Toronto to Niagara Falls, about 220 kilometers for those of you not in Canada or in Ontario, to raise some funds for cancer research. And then after that, what would you do if you weren't afraid? It was leave my job. So those were the things that I did. It was my pseudo year of yes, but instead it was, how can I make decisions not based in fear? If I was afraid of it and it was good for me, I was going to go after it. So I'm not challenging you all today to totally change your life, leave your job, go back to school, whatever it is that was right for me at the time. But I do want to challenge you to get out of your comfort zone. And it doesn't have to be a huge leap into this big, scary place. Do something on the edge first. Make an edge move. Move a little bit closer to the edge of your comfort zone. Make one more decision that maybe you wouldn't have made last week or last month or last year. And I promise you will find over the months, over the quarters, over the years, you will be doing things you never thought you could. When you look back at 5 years ago, I know when I look back at 5 years ago, me, and if I had said, do the last thing first, there's not a chance, right? It was about stretching that muscle and growing, gaining confidence and trust in myself by putting myself in a position to first be afraid and then do the thing that I was afraid of. I really like to share this, and this is from a good friend of mine, Finka Yurkovic, and she wrote the book called Sell from Love. And the way she addresses why we don't do things we're afraid of or what fear looks like is fudge. Fudge is something that we all eat all the time, but just like real fudge, when you eat too much of it, you will feel sick to your stomach, you will not be able to make a decision, you will not be able to move forward. But what is fudge? It's fear, uncertainty, doubt, guilt, and expectations. I think these apply to everyone. I do think they apply in a very unique way to women and to women in leadership. So fear is pretty self-explanatory, right? I don't want to do this. I'm afraid, I'm scared, something in me is holding me back. That comes from uncertainty, right? Because we don't know what the outcome is going to be. Sometimes it's easier to sit in this moment of not knowing than it is to go, okay, I'm going to try and let's see what happens. Doubt, of course, is I can't do that. Someone like that could do that. Someone like Susie could go get her executive MBA. Someone like that could go out on their own, not me, right? I've got so much doubt. And then guilt. I think we've all felt this one. No matter what you're doing, sometimes you feel like you're supposed to be doing the other thing, right? If you've ever been to a conference or had to go away to work, or even just spending time working, you've got other priorities also going to you. You're not doing this, you're not doing this, right? If you do have small children, gosh, in 2020, when we were trying to do school and work and balance all of these things, it was always guilt, right? So no, I'm not going to take on more because I have these other things to do, right? Where can we rebalance that? Where can we give ourselves a reality check that becoming the best versions of ourselves, it's not only good for us, but it's good for our employees, it's good for our families, it's good for our friends, it's good for everyone around you. So try and kick the guilt. And then expectations. This comes back again to that moment when you're in limbo of it could be or it couldn't be, right? And if I try and I'm successful, then what, right? Like someone's going to ask for more of me, or I'm going to have to ask myself again, what's next? I'm not ready for that. So that's where expectations can come in. So when you're finding yourself really, crippled by fear or not moving forward out of fear, thinking about which one of these is getting to you. Which one of these can you really take an unbiased look at, change your perspective, ask a trusted advisor or friend, this is getting in my way. Can you talk to me from the position of not being so close to this, right? Of not having that uncertainty, doubt, guilt, expectations. Let's chat through why this is a really good thing and why this should be the thing that I do next. I'm going to ask you all next to create a visibility plan to start to catalyze your leadership. You've taken the time to be with us today, and I really think it's so important that you now take the time to do something with some of this information, right? I love that you've spent time with us today, and I'm hoping to get to know some of you through the Q&A and through connecting afterwards. But if all you did was come and listen and not do anything with it, then maybe you haven't gotten the most out of your time, right? And I want to make sure that if I've taken some of your time, it's been valuable. So your visibility project will help you focus on developing talent, skills, and competencies. It will let you bring more passion, energy, and connection to everything you do, add value, and make meaningful impact. It'll help you gain visibility, influence, and leadership, and it'll unlock potential and possibility. That seems really big, and I promise, I know I've only got to talk to you for about half an hour so far, so I'm not asking you to do anything really, really hard. I want you to ask yourself this reflection question. What would it be possible for you if you stepped into your unique and highest value and used your special gifts to make an impact? What's one thing that would be possible if you trusted yourself enough to do this? And then name and write down that one action you'll take to get closer to that, or to actually go do that. Maybe it's speak up at your next leadership meeting, right? Maybe it's share an idea that you've had for a while. Maybe it's write a blog post on LinkedIn. Any of those things could be your action item going away from today. And I would love to see if you want to post in the Women in Leadership LinkedIn post that was for this session. Would love to see in there in the comments some of the things you took away, some of the things that you're going to try and do next, some of the ways that you're going to try and be brave. Now, you might be thinking, I've asked you a whole lot to be your whole self, to find out who you are, to spend some time reflecting. Where do you start? I do have a tool that I use in all of the parts of my business, and I count myself very lucky and fortunate to be a Fascinate certified advisor. So as you're doing your reflection, if you could use some help with some language that would describe you really, really well, with understanding where you add your most value, How to Fascinate is a tool that can help. And why is How to Fascinate different? This system is based on branding instead of psychology. So I'm of the belief that I've never wasted time doing any personal assessment. I think learning about ourselves is really, really important. And there's lots of different ways that you can do that. This system is different, again, because we identify communication patterns instead of personality traits. We'll tell you how the world sees you rather than how you see the world. And instead of focusing on strengths, we uncover how each person is different and uniquely suited to excel in a specialty. There's a quote that the founder of How to Fascinate uses, Sally Hogg said, and it's called, "Different is better than better." When you're always trying to be the best at something, someone might put in an extra hour, right? Someone can maybe be in a position to go after another certification or another designation. Whereas if you really understand how you add value in a unique and different way, nobody is competing with you, and you're not competing with anyone else, which is the most freeing feeling. And then understanding that what you bring that's really different isn't for every situation will help you find the situations it really is for. And the thing I love most about this program is we do not spend a whole lot of time talking about the things that you're not great at. Instead of fixing people, we highlight what you're already doing right. When it comes to this one, I always like to share this kind of analogy. I've probably had 20 corporate reviews in my life, and I would wager to guess that 19 of them said that I need to work on, you're not going to be surprised here, organization and time management skills. Remember, I said that's the thing that's super heavy for me. So organization and time management skills, what you need to work on next year, organization and time management skills. Melissa, what we'd really like you to focus on next year, organization and time management skills, over and over and over. If I spent 12 months of energy becoming the Outlook guru and having the cleanest credentials in the office, I'm still never going to be Marie Kondo. None of you are going to be fascinated by me for my organization skills. None of you are going to look to me for advice or help or coaching on doing those things. It's never going to happen. So what would have happened if I spent 12 months focused on that? I would get this much better at a thing that I'm just not naturally built to do. But if I focus on the thing that I'm really good at, I could go from good to great to excellent to exceptional, right? And my return on energy is going to be so much more when I focus on the things that are really natural to me. Again, I can't forget about this stuff. I can't not show up to meetings. I can't not be able to find things. It is important. It takes discipline and it takes work. But if I spend all my energy there, I am just spinning my wheels, right? I'm getting really, really tired. I'm getting probably disengaged. I'm frustrated with the work that I'm doing instead of focusing on the things that I'm naturally built to do. And those are just going to excel. If you do decide to take part in a How to Fascinate assessment, we are going to offer at a reduced rate an assessment where you would get a report with some really powerful language to use, or an actual debrief with an FCA advisor, so myself or one of my colleagues. And when you go through this process, you would discover how the world sees you at your best, so you can understand your core strengths and communication style, and how you're most and least likely to solve problems and achieve results. You'll learn how to discover your communication red flags and how you might be turning people off, and then understand and manage them so that you can proactively mitigate any career or leadership derailers that might come from that. You'll craft the two most important words to confidently describe and articulate your brilliant difference. And the reason that is important, again, is being able to know your difference and then share it so that you find yourself in the spaces that you're supposed to be, so that you can communicate to your leader, this is where I operate best. This is how you can help me be successful, so that in turn, I will be bringing more value back to you. I did have the opportunity to take Susie through this program over the past couple of weeks. And what we learned about Susie was she is a people's champion. She is full of passion and power. Her natural optimism inspires others. She advocates for others, stepping up to make sure everyone is heard. She enjoys management by walking around, since it gives the opportunity to get a good feel for what's going on. And we had a great conversation about what that looks like in the teams world, or in the world where we're hybrid and not all in the office at the same time, and ways she's been able to keep those connections going and make sure her team feels valued and seen, even when they're not in the office. She is very well liked and respected, and she can be highly influential regardless of her position within an organization. So Susie is an MBA and she works in business development, but way more importantly, what we learned through the Fascinate assessment was some language to describe her over and above that. And that was dynamic, intuitive, inclusive, idealistic, and engaging. Susie, do you want to share with us a couple of your key takeaways, or what your experience was like going through this program?
Sure. And I've taken so many of these personality tests. And the one thing I noticed quickly was that the assessment was so easy. It took 3-4 minutes for me to do. And then the report that was produced afterwards was so incredibly on point that I'm still not convinced that there's not dark magic at play here. Like there's just no way. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to take advantage of that, especially the discounted rate, and offering it to our audience today. But yeah, it was definitely just amazing to read, and it made me want to reach out and schedule that debrief so that I could learn how to apply, the learnings, the insights into real action, and how to become a better leader. I think you said something to me, that is exactly the quote: to become more successful, of don't change who you are, become more of who you are. I think that was, to me, the game changer, knowing that I didn't need to be more like somebody else to be a better leader. I could just hone in and be better at what was already identified as my key assets. So thank you for sharing that with me.
Thanks, Susie. It's been super fun spending some time with you. And although we're both alumni, I haven't actually had the opportunity to work with you too much. So spending some time with you over the past few weeks has been really great. And I will say, a lot of people say what Susie says, whereas like, how did they get me so quick? I'll share that for me, it was very, very different. And about 20 to 25% of people, from what I find, land more in what I do, where I don't know if I was just not all that self-aware at the time, but it really did start the progression for me on these life-changing decisions, on this year of what would you do if you're not afraid? Because when I read my report, it was a little bit unsettling. It was all the things I thought I wasn't supposed to be. Because when we talked about those leadership qualities do not have gender, my report did show I'm more of those than some of the other ones sometimes. I need to remember to be balanced and bring them both in. But the parts of me that were actually exceptional, the parts of me that made me successful to date, were all the parts of me I was trying to shove down, trying to not be, because of whether it be the way that I was raised or society. They were all things I thought as a female leader I wasn't supposed to be. I wasn't supposed to show up that way. So learning that was the way that I actually did add value, and other people saw those as really good things, whereas I saw them as things as like, oh, I need to be less of that. Learning to actually kind of take that lid off and just let myself lean into the parts of me that really did add value, changed my career. It changed the trajectory of my life, my career. You know, I applied to school after that. I changed roles a couple of times, but it really, I just got to stop pretending and spending energy on things that I wasn't, right? Because it does take a lot of energy to be something other than you. So I do want to share this again. Of course, that quote about what you need to do is be more you, not less, and not shoving it down. This other one is really great too. What makes you uncommon is what makes you unforgettable. Because when someone blends in, when someone sticks in, when someone is just like everyone else within an organization, we can tend to forget them, right? We can tend to go, they're good at their job, let's leave them there. They do what they do, and that's really great. When you're uncommon and you stand out and you're able to do some things that the people around you aren't, that's when you gain that traction, right? That's when you're like, okay, we have a special project. I need their team to do it because they've got that thing, right? Like they approach problems this way. And in this circumstance, that's exactly what we need. So what makes you uncommon is what makes you unforgettable. So stop trying to not be that, for one. There's some of my contact information. I would love to connect with you and hear from you. We can connect on LinkedIn or Instagram, and then my email is there as well. There will be an email following going out after this workshop too, where it's got some links to contact me and offer to take the assessment if you'd like, or to spend some time with myself or one of my fascinating colleagues as well to really understand your report and how to leverage it. But I'm actually kind of excited. Maybe I talk too fast, and I hope not, but we do have almost 15 minutes for some Q&A. So feel free to populate if you have any questions. I'm going to stop sharing, so hopefully you can see more than just the screen, so you can see each other, and would love to hear if you've got any questions.
Yeah, sorry. So I did say at the beginning that we would leave Q&A to after the session.
Yeah.
But let's take advantage of this now. If anyone has any questions for Melissa with regards to anything that she talked about.
Oh, I see Kim's been answering questions about the EMBA. That's great. How do you combat imposter syndrome, Jennifer? That is such a great question. And I think that is something I have certainly struggled with. I don't know that it ever completely goes away if it is very much in your personality type to have that. What I have found is really leaning into how you add value and understanding what that is, because not everybody has it. So a big breakthrough for me when I went through this program a number of years ago was whenever I would be recognized for anything, I'd be like, that was easy. I didn't do anything. My team did it. All of those comments are really eroding at your confidence, right? They're eroding, they're giving you that imposter syndrome. They're saying, I've got everybody fooled, right? Like tomorrow they're going to figure out that it wasn't really me that did that. But the reason why it feels like that is because what you do best comes so effortlessly and easy to you that you can't see it. It's almost impossible, but we do, because what comes easy to you is very difficult for us, right? Anybody who's looking at you and recognizing you for these things. So I do have a little bit of a story. One year, I was a branch manager at a bank here in Canada, and the branch that I was running had not passed a mutual fund audit in many years. And I was being audited. I think we talked about how, the details are not my thing. Organization is not always my thing. And we passed that audit. It was a ton of work. I was exhausted. If I never had to audit another mutual fund, I would be very happy. And my regional vice president walked through the office, was like, good job. Good thing we passed. Off she went. And I was like, wait, what? But because that thing is so heavy for me, but for others, it's not heavy or hard. That's how that came across. At the end of the year, I was recognized at a branch manager conference for my leadership. I was given an award within our district for being the leader of the year. And to me, then I was like, anybody can do that. That's so easy. Like my team did all the work. Well, all I had to do was be nice to them, those kinds of things. But that natural way that I inspire and get people to follow me, not everybody can do. So that might be really heavy for someone else. So when you think about imposter syndrome, think about when people tell you the good things. Why are you pushing them off, right? And sit in them for a minute. I know it's uncomfortable if it's something you hadn't done, but read those emails where people say thank you, those recognitions that you get if your organization has a recognition system. Some of your annual reviews. What are the good things that your leader and those around you are saying? And take those just as seriously as you take any negative impact. And that can really help with imposter syndrome. You're probably going to have to push yourself to believe them. But when you start believing them and understanding they see this as something you do really well, that not everyone can do really well, then you can, again, lean into the things that are going to make you successful and feel less like that imposter. Hope that was helpful, Jennifer. Oh, some more questions coming in. Okay. Do you have a 2.0 course that you offer? I feel like I'm pretty self-aware and know my unique ability. I just want to take it. Absolutely. Yeah, we do. And feel free to reach out. I do ongoing coaching and can help you. Like I said, like Susie said, she was aware. Like when she got her report, she's like, yep, it nailed me. What do I do with that? How do I take that to the next level? How do I start to understand those around me and surround myself with people who are not like me so I can leverage their full value as well? And then what advice do we have for someone who's thought about making a leap into consulting? What were the first few critical steps you took first? You know, I'm going to say, I know that that Ivy's been really generous in offering that scholarship, but I would say my network from my executive MBA was something that was a game changer because they really got me through my first year. So in an executive MBA, you're already working with leaders, either from kind of the middle management director level, right up through the C-suite. So for the type of work I was going out to do, that's who I work with, that's who I support. So I had a really strong network. And then learning how to communicate again, what am I doing? How am I adding value? Why do you need this? That was really, really important. But putting that note into my WhatsApp chat with my class really did get me started. I was very lucky that those first few months were completely stress-free because I knew I had work coming. So building up and shoring your network is really, really important. Some of you that might look like through a cohorted school program. Some of you that's just reconnecting with the people that you've worked with throughout your career that have always valued what you've done. And then being really active on LinkedIn. Just because you need to shore up those connections and make people feel seen and heard so that when you say, hey, I'm going out, they want to be there for you. I think that's a really big piece, especially if you're doing independent consulting. You need to have people who want to be there for you to support you that you've made a difference for in the past within the same field that you're going to do. So I was an HR business partner at a couple of larger organizations and supported C-suite leaders. So that meant that those leaders already knew how I added value. They were willing to give me some testimonials and share within their network once I did say I was going out on my own. I hope that was helpful too. Alba, what are some ideas surrounding working in a position where it involves working in your weakness? Would it be possible to know more details about the program, duration, intensity, benefits? Absolutely. There's lots of different ways you can tackle it. So you can do just an assessment where you'll get a report. You can do the assessment plus a 90-minute debrief with myself. And then I do also offer ongoing coaching. I run a membership group that is monthly leadership and career coaching and a community of support, which is really fantastic. And we've got some executive mentors as a part of our group as well, so that you get those ongoing benefits. And we do monthly content as well. So lots of ways that you can keep building on it. If you feel like it's something for you, certainly reach out. And a position, yeah, figuring out kind of what's next. Like, why are you doing what you're doing? Sometimes that's a question we don't ask ourselves enough. Why am I doing what I'm doing? And by all means, I'm not saying that we can all throw our hands up in the air and go, I'm not doing this anymore. That's not the reality of the way it works, right? We all have to make a plan and decide how we're going to get to the next level. But again, if you are in a leadership position, surrounding yourself with people who are very different than you will help you be successful. Learning to dig into the things that you really enjoy about your work and maybe changing the lens at how you look at it. And then kind of as not a last case, but one option is, how do I look to what I want to do next and how this is going to get me there? Because then you can get some energy and passion from, although this isn't the work I love doing, I love being successful at this because I know it's going to get me here. right? So it might be a little bit of heavy lifting for a while as you make that plan and work that through. But as long as you've got your eye on the next goal, it should be able to keep you focused in doing that. These are kind of some of the topics we talk about in the membership group as well, because they're very common stuff comes up, right? So it's 2 questions. Yeah. If you're confident and overcome all your fears and add value to the organization you work with, your annual reviews, how do you get them to see it? I feel stuck in my current position and can't get my organization to see my value. That is a really tough one. And learning how to communicate where you add your highest value is so important. So being able to share back to that leader, this is the impact I'm able to make because of this value that I bring. And I would like to be able to share that value at a higher level, right? I feel like I've made the impact on this team that I can. I'm really, really happy with what I've built and what would be left behind. And I'm ready to take on a new challenge. I know that was like a super quick generic answer, but we can certainly connect, even if you'd like to bat that back and forth a little bit for sure. How do you push yourself to make changes? For me, I love the question, what's the worst that can happen? That might seem counterintuitive. I am definitely a glass half full person, an optimistic person, but I like to think in my head, what is the absolute worst thing that can happen if I do this thing that I'm afraid to do, or if I make this change, right? And without catastrophizing, because you can take it 5 miles too far, but without catastrophizing, what's the worst that can happen? Then figure out how I would deal with it, even like a high level of, okay, if the worst that could happen is the project fails, or I lose my job, or I go out on my own and it doesn't work. Well, what would I do then? Well, I'd reach out to my network. I'm pretty confident I'd be able to make a connection and find a role. It might not be my dream role, it might be something I have to do to rebuild and go back to. Would that be okay? Yeah, it'd probably be okay. It's not what I want to happen, but it'd probably be okay. And then I look at the upside. What if it worked? What if the change worked? What if I wasn't afraid and I did the thing? Almost all of the time, the downside is here. It's I can mitigate it. I know what I would do next. It's not comfortable, but I'd be okay. The sky wouldn't fall. After that, I look at what could happen if it goes well. And almost all of the time, the upside is more, right? That makes it worth the risk. And then Nicola, what would be some advice you'd give someone wanting to jump from a manager to a leadership position, especially from a person who's a doer and controller? Yeah, should that person even make that move? So if you're naturally inclined to be the doer and have no interest in the strategic kind of higher level thinking or leading people, I would challenge you, maybe a formal leadership position is not for you, but there's often individual contributor roles with increasing seniority. So you could be a senior technical specialist or find the path that can get you still so where you're getting that satisfaction, you're reaching your potential, or you're feeling like you're continually adding value and growing. Ask for a stretch assignment that doesn't include leading people if leading people is really not for you. What I would say is that, is leading people not for you out of fear or because someone told you that? And then we got to dig in and go, okay, where is that coming from? Why do I think I wouldn't be good at it, right? Because there are lots of different leadership styles that are effective. But if you actually know, like I get more satisfaction from putting my head down and doing the work, maybe a small team is right for you, but maybe a senior individual contributor role is right for you. It's really hard to kind of answer with specificity if without more context, but I hope that was a good, at least thing to start thinking about. I think we've made it through most of the questions. If we did miss any, I think I'll get a copy of them so that I can add back again in the follow-up email. But we are also pretty much at time. Susie, do you want me to pass it back to you?
Sure, it sounds good. Thank you so much again for Melissa and Kim for joining us, as well as everyone who made it today. Again, the recording is going to be made available for everybody who attended the session, and also for those who didn't, as long as you registered. The information for the scholarship will be sent as well to everybody, and if you are looking for it, you can head on over to the Women in Leadership website, and we have it up on the landing page as well. So with that, I think we will end. I want to wish everyone a happy rest of the day. And again, thank you for your support and for showing up today.
Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Bye, Susie. Great job.
Thanks, Kim.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.